Hi guys, Rebecca here. Today is 4/21/2017 and the time is 6:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The date in New Zealand is April 22nd, 2017 and the time is approximately 10:35 a.m. In front of me you can see I have a map of Google Earth and we're just going to go over some quakes in areas that have occurred since beginning at April 21st at 12 a.m. First occurred was a 1.1 that was followed by a 1.5, which was followed by a 1.8. Then we had a 2.5 at 156 kilometers in depth. This quake was in Wanganui National Park, and it is a park created to protect the upper part of the Wanganui River. This route used to be an important transport route for Maori and early European settlers. This park has a distinctive landscape of river valley systems, steep stone, razor-sharp bridges, and nearly complete cover of lowland forest. The park is at the center of the large sedimentary bases, and the rocks there are mostly mudstone. And this is a really neat area. Our next quake was a 1.6, and that was followed by a 2.0, which was followed by a 2.0 at 62 kilometers in depth. This quake happened in the Kaimanawa Park Forest, and is a large area of ancient native forest. It is popular for hunting, fishing, and experienced hikers. And you can tell you might get lost there. It's pretty big. Our next quake was a 1.5. Followed by a 1.5, followed by a 2.3, followed by a 2.1, which was followed by a 2.2 at 122 kilometers in depth. This quake was at Rotorua, Lake Tarawera, and it is the largest lake in New Zealand. The lake is deep, and other lakes drain into it. Any water flowing in it stays in the area for up to 10 years. And this is right over here. Right here. And this little area down here is kind of neat. I was looking at this morning. And then there's a little town over here. And I started marking the geothermal areas that are over here. There's a few of them, such as up here, and then there's a few more that I stopped to mark. Our next quake was a 2.0, followed by a 0.9, which was followed by a 3.1. And that was in Ward. Our next quake was a 2.4 at 104 kilometers in depth. And this was in Waharoa, which is a little town over here. Next quake was a 2.7. and that is off of the sudden area in Blenheim. Our next quake was a 2.1 at 49 kilometers in depth, followed by a 2.3, followed by a 2.9 in the same area. The next quake was a 1.6, followed by a 2.8, followed by a 1.9, which was followed by a 2.6 at 133 kilometers in depth. And you can tell this is off of Golden Bay. Our next quake was a 2.0, followed by a 2.3. Our next quake was a 0.9, and it was followed by a 2.4 at 106 kilometers in depth, which is over here near Mangakino. That was followed by a 2.2, which was followed by a 1.9, a 2.2, a 1.5, a 1.7 at 60 kilometers in depth, followed by a 3.3 at a Kiwi Bay. And a Kiwi Bay has an area where you can go camping. Beautiful, beautiful. Our next quake was a 1.3, followed by 1.4, which was followed by a 2.8, a 0.5, a 1.8, a 1.5, a 2.3, a 1.6. Then there was a 5.4 in Tonga. That was followed by a 1.8, a 2.0, a 1.9, a 2.5, followed by a 3.0. That's back over here near Rangipo and Waitoka Valley and Rotaera. Our next quake was a 3.0 as well. And this was at Lake Tigano, and that is the second largest lake in New Zealand. This lake is popular for boating and fishing. Which is over here. Ooh. Our next quake was a 2.2, followed by a 1.8, which was followed by a 2.0 at 131 kilometers in depth, which is off the end of the North Island, between North Island and White Island. Our next quake was a 2.2, followed by 1.9, which is followed by a 1.7 at 8 kilometers in depth. At Maha Bua, this area was originally known as the Western Entrance. This town's name means abundance. This town has a rich history and is unique in its own way. And we're looking over here. Our next quake was a 2.4, followed by a 2.8, followed by a 2.2, which was followed by a 2.5, a 2.3, and a 2.4, which leads us to a 2.2 at 144 kilometers in depth. And this was at the Kangaroo Forest, which is the largest forest in North Island. and the largest plantation in the southern hemisphere. The forest was planted in the late 1920s and owned by the government. Through a lawsuit, the land and what was on it was passed to the tribes that had originally owned it, and the trees now belong to a private company. What a way to settle a lawsuit. The next quake was a 2.5 at 47 kilometers in depth, and the next quake was a 1.6 at 47 kilometers in depth. That was followed by a 3.2 at Kokora Flat. This area extends into the sea south, and the upwelling currents bring lots of sea life. From the depths of the Hakarangi Trench, Kokora is the center for the whaling industry. The name Kokora means crayfish. Kokora is now popular for whale watching and swimming and seeing dolphins and seals. The town also has a branch of the Southern Alps that comes nearly to the sea, and popular walking area called the Mount Fife Trail, so named by the first family to settle in Kokora. Our next quake was a 1.9, followed by a 1.9, followed by 1.6, which was followed by 1.8, and then a 2.4. A 2.6, 2.0, 0.9. That was followed by a 3.7 at Lake Duncan, which seems to be a very out of the way remote area. And it has like a little river that comes off of it and goes over to here. Our next quake is a 0.6, followed by 1.9, followed by 1.3, followed by 1.4, which was followed by 1.5. Then we start April 22nd at 12 a.m. 0.7 at 55 kilometers in depth, 0.9, 1.7, another 0.9, 1.8, 2.3, followed by a 2.0 at 83 kilometers in depth, which was followed by a 2.0, a 1.7, 1.9, 1.7, followed by a 3.0 at 61 kilometers in depth. This was at Gelatia. Also, I've read somewhere there was a military area over here that used to watch the Maori as they passed to and from there, going to the ocean, I guess, to go fishing. Our next quake was a 3.1. At Tarawera Valley, also known as the wine region. Check out where it landed at. Our next quake was a 1.5, followed by a 2.5 at 75 kilometers in depth, followed by a 1.8, a 2.4, followed by a 0.8, a 1.8, a 2.1, a 1.7, a 1.6, 1.3, 1.9, a 2.3, 1.6, 2.2, 1.7, 2.3, a 1.7, a 0.2, 2.0, followed by a 3.1, which was also at Aleutian Valley. Wine region. I don't know why this is like this, so you can't see over that way. Our next quake was a 1.9, a 2.0, followed by a 2.1, a 2.5, a 2.2, a 2.6, a 1.0, a 0.7, a 1.8, a 2.6, 1.8, which was followed by a 3.5, a 0.9, and a 3.2. Now I'm going to do these two together. So we'll go over here. And this was located at Mount Cook. Mount Cook is located in the Southern Alps, which extends along pretty much all of New Zealand's South Island. And I'm going to pull back for a minute so we can take a good look. The term Southern Alps refers to most of the regions. Mount Cook is the highest mountain in New Zealand at 12,218 feet tall. And because of the uplift and pressure as the Pacific Indo-Australian plates collide, Mount Cook rises 0.28 inches per year. Mount Cook is a popular spot for tourists and a challenge for mountain climbers. Mount Cook has 3 summits, South, North, and Lower Peak. The Southern Alps also lies along the geological plate boundary, which is part of the Ring of Fire. Uplift in the Alpine Alps caused what is known as the Alpine Fault, which through uplift, its motion is transverse, not vertical. Due to the transfer of motion from strike slip on the Alpine Fault to dip slip motion at the subduction zones to the north, it created the Marlborough Fault system, which has resulted in the uplift to the region. And that completes my today's update. I hope you enjoyed, and please check in with Dutch Sense. Thank you, and have a nice day.